Hi, I'm Sam Yorke, chef owner of restaurant Heron in Leith, Edinburgh. Youngest chef to hold a star in Scotland. Today I'm going to be cooking one of our turbot dishes, currently on our tasting a la carte menus. Starting off by breaking down some really nice turbot, making a little mousse out of the tail, mixed with some freshly cooked clams and chopped dill. That'll then get piped onto the top and steamed. Season with a little bit of fermented white asparagus and shiokouji. Well, so turbot's known as the king of the sea, or the best meat that I work with for sure. This one's around 3 or 4 kilos, a beautiful white, sort of flaky flesh. You're ideally looking for nice bright gills, nice and firm. Trust your fish suppliers, essentially. Start off by taking off the top 2 fillets. We'll just make an incision around the head and then down the spine of the fish. There are 4 fillets in total on a turbot, 2 on the top, which are your main 2, and then 2 slightly smaller ones on the bottom. Removing the bottom fillets the same way as we would the top, but as I say, they're just slightly smaller. So then just starting to trim up the fish a little bit, we take the skin off as well. It'd be over probably 120 portions a week, 4 or 5 whole turbots a week, essentially. Continuing to trim it up nicely. Obviously, we want quite a nice shape when we go to put the mousse on. So that's the fish broken down there into 4 beautiful fillets. We're going to next off brine this, 10% salt for 30 minutes. We're going to make sure that the shape's nice. We take the tail ends and a little bit of trim just to round it off slightly. This trim that I'm removing here will go for the mousse. Again, a really nice way of using up the whole fish. So yeah, up next we're going to make the fish mousse, fairly traditional in style. I prefer to leave it dairy-free. So I'll start by putting it into the Thermomix. Put a blend on full speed just to get the fish broken down a little bit. So the secret with mousses in general is you need to keep them quite cold. If they get too warm, then they will start to split. So just marising down the sides of the bowl, making sure there's nothing left over. I'll start the Thermomix going again. I'm going to start adding in the egg whites gradually, and the egg white just helps to stiffen it up that little bit. So that's the kind of consistency you're looking for. Firm enough to pipe, but loose enough to be smooth. So next we're gonna pass it through the tammy, and making sure that the mousse stays cold. Obviously here we're just passing out any little bits of sinew, making sure a smooth consistency and no chunks, no unwanted bits of anything. But over the last 5 years, I'd like to think the food has improved, of course. We're always pushing, trying to make things better. We only did actually a la carte at the time. So the tasting menu was something that we added on down the line. So now I'm going to cook the clams. They've been run in cold water for about 10 minutes just to try and get any of the sand out of them before we cook them. The pan's just getting hot at the moment. A dry pan. We're going to be adding them in with a decent splash of wine, white wine. We'll then put a lid on and allow them to steam till they're open. 2 minutes-ish, just until they start to open. Take them out and we'll pick through and remove them from the shell. We drain them off, reserving the wine and clam stock. We're using that as part of our Langham and lemongrass foam later on. Gonna pick through the clams, removing them from the shell. When we first got the star, it was pretty surreal, I think, and none of us were expecting it. Obviously, get the invitation, and we're hoping that it would be the case, but you never know until you're there. So that's now the clams picked through there. We're going to pass off the clam stock and wine through a chinois, which will then be used as the base for our wine and lemongrass foam. So next we're going to take some of the clams that we've just cooked, chopping down a good portion of them to fall through our mousse, along with some fresh herbs as well. So obviously while we've been doing all this, the mousse has just been sat on ice there, keeping cold, as I say. You don't want it to get too warm or it will start to split when you go to make it. So just chopping them nice and fine here, fold them through our fish mousse. So just now folding through the chopped dill, quite a nice amount of bits, finishing with a little bit of lemon zest. The mousse is the base here. You know, the clams and the dill, I mean, they're by eye, essentially, you know, as you change the garnish. Up next now, we've got the brine fillets of turbot. The mousse is made, so we're gonna pipe the mousse on the fish just now, wrap it up in cling film, and then we're gonna steam it in the oven. Cornstarch just helps to bind the mousse to the fish. A nice light dusting then, doesn't need too much, just to help bind it. And then we're gonna pipe the mousse on. So just smoothing over the mousse now, trying to knock out any air bubbles. Obviously, if you know, once it's steamed, any air bubbles will appear quite clearly when you go to portion the fish. So now that the mousse is piped on there, we're just gonna wrap it in cling film. Not super tight, you know. We're not rolling it like a ballotine. Obviously, we want to keep that natural fish shape. That's ready to go in the oven. Steam oven 62 degrees for about 10 to 12 minutes. Next up, we're going to be making the lemongrass and sparkling wine foam. A little bit of vegetable oil. Sweating down some shallots. A good pinch of salt in there as well. And this is just a little bit of sliced lemongrass. Again, in with the shallots to sweat down. A sprig of lemon thyme. Always marising down the sides of the pot as well. Now that we're sweated down here, we're just going to add in our clam stock. I'm going to bring that down by about half. So now that this is reduced down by half, we're just going to add equal parts whipping cream and milk. Don't want it to be too thick, so we're aiming for quite a light foam. So yeah, too much cream ends up being slightly heavy. Gently simmer that for maybe half an hour to an hour or so, just to get the flavors, you know, really infused. And you don't want to boil it too hard, because you'll sometimes find that the proteins in the clam stock will sort of set up. Start making the bit of a cheats beurre blanc here. Adding in a little touch of whipping cream here. Not too much, as I say, it's a little bit of a cheats move, just to stabilize it a touch. We add a little squeeze of lemon juice. Start emulsifying in our diced butter. We use unsalted butter, more control on the seasoning essentially. Not too thick, as it will be let down a fraction by our fermented white asparagus juice and shiokouji later on. So we're just going to keep that warm now. That's the steamed fish ready there. So that was 11 minutes, just the mousse is set, which is all we're looking for, not fully cooked all the way through. So we're just going to get that in the blast chiller now, just to cool down, ready to be sliced. Foam here has now been simmering away for about an hour, so we're just going to pass it off through a chinois. Add a splash of our Langham sparkling wine, just to finish the sauce. We want it to be quite light and fresh, obviously well seasoned. We've got the steamed fish here. It's just been chilled down, so we're just going to go ahead and portion that. The mousse is set, but the fish itself is still quite underdone. I mean, that's exactly what we want. You know, we don't want to take the fish too far at this stage. For service, we're going to be reheating it in a little bit of clarified butter. We're going to be going ahead with a clarified butter bath here set at 52 degrees. We're just going to place the fish carefully into there, still in the cling film just to help keep that shape. And then after about maybe 6 minutes in that bath, we'll just give it a check, give it a final season with a bit of fleur de sel, and then it's onto the pass. So next up, we're going to start cooking the garnish. Really nice white asparagus here for the garnish. It's been peeled. We then collect the peel. Obviously, this isn't just one piece of asparagus, a few days worth here. Then we're going to ferment this with 2% salt by weight, vacuum pack it, leave it for 3 days just to develop that flavour. That then gets juiced to season the beurre blanc to go on the fish. Just going to add a little bit of a butter emulsion here, just a mix of seasoned water and butter. Just simmer gently just until the asparagus is cooked through. As they're almost there, we're just going to add in kale. Got to eat your greens, obviously. So then just finishing here with a few of our clams. They're already cooked, so they're not going to take long in there. They're just to reheat. So this is the portioned turbot here, just been in the bath at 52 degrees for about 6 minutes now. So we're just going to finish this fish then with a little bit of fleur de sel, already brined, so Should be quite well seasoned throughout. So we've got all the components here and we're ready to plate. So first the turbot, the white asparagus, some lightly roasted and peeled walnuts, followed by the clams, again just lightly warmed through. Top them with the blanched kale and finish with a few fresh herbs. In this case we've got a little bit of oxalis and a little bit of alyssum flour. Don't use a huge amount of flours generally, because obviously it's only really a visual, but I think it works quite well on this. So this is the lemongrass and sparkling wine foam here. We take it just to about 60 degrees, doesn't want to be too hot. And then we're just going to use the hand blender just to foam it up. We've also got our beurre blanc here, our citrus butter sauce. We're just going to finish that with a few little bits, a little bit of trout roe, a splash of our fermented white asparagus juice, a little bit of liquid shiokouji. Yes, I mean, we use quite a lot of shiokouji in general. I mean, it's a great ingredient. In this case, it's for the seasoning aspect more than anything. We use it a lot as marinades and things. It starts to break down the proteins. Similar way to dry aging, I like to think of. In this case, it's kind of adding that sort of salty umami flavour to the beurre blanc. We finish that then with a little bit of fig leaf oil. So we're going to start off with the foam, lemongrass, lang and wine. Finish with our beurre blanc. So there we have our North Sea turbot with white asparagus, walnuts, clams, and finish with a little lemongrass and sparkling wine foam, and citrus butter sauce with fig leaf, fermented white asparagus, and shiokouji. Wouldn't have realised that I was the youngest to get a star in Scotland. A real privilege, real honour to be awarded like that. A lot of pressure on everybody really, you know, obviously got bills to pay. Obviously the business debt, you know, there's a lot of borrowed money, you know, to open the place. So yeah, I mean, obviously, it feels good. We've since managed to clear that debt, thankfully. So we're not in a bad position, but stressful for sure. A lot of sleepless nights.